remaining calm during this current worldwide COVID-19 outbreak or pandemic. Jiddu Krishnamurti has helped me in a lot of aspects in life, but particularly when it comes to the COVID-19 outbreak and the worldwide lockdown seemingly, and all the narrative of fear, of drama, of anxiety, of death is very, very frightening for a lot of people, because it seems like it's happening to you, or everything you hear is bad news and worsening conditions and death toll rises. Now, what Jiddu Krishnamurti taught me that was so helpful through this, because you see, I've got asthma and I've had numerous asthma attacks, as well as an autoimmune disease. So I'm like one of the top candidates. Other than my age, I'm pretty much screwed. So I did catch myself like getting caught up in the narrative every now and then, but one of the most valuable things that I learned through Jiddu Krishnamurti is try and look at what is, look at the facts, look at what actually is, because the narrative of the media and the death toll rises and all this additional information, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying when I'm leaving the house to go to the shops, it's not like it helps me to know how many people have died of the disease. What helps me is to know how it's contracted, how I can protect myself, and how I can protect others. Now, this coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic, luckily I studied enough science to understand enough of the medical background to acquire enough knowledge to understand how the virus is contracted and how I can avoid contracting it. So this virus is contracted through droplets, and what that means is through spit, phlegm, and snot. So if someone carries the virus and then a molecule of spit, phlegm, or snot through a handshake, a high five, a kiss, obviously, that's like the biggest no-no. I haven't seen anybody kiss in like ages. Anyway, you get the virus through these droplets. So if someone sneezes on you or coughs on you, which you'd hope they wouldn't, because especially in Corona, that would probably get you killed. But so if you shake someone's hands, you can then contract the virus onto your hand, and then if you touch your mouth or your eyes or anything, then you get it into your system. So that's how it's contracted. It's not in the air. It can, like if you go into a room where someone that has the virus is sick, there is an aerosol, and all the medical professionals, when they intubate patients, there's an aerosol in the air, right? So that is under certain circumstances when you're in a room with someone that has the COVID-19 virus, which for everyday practicality, unless you're a doctor or nurse, that doesn't really or not necessarily happen. So all I needed to focus on if I go outside to go shopping, because, well, it'd be easier to lock yourself indoors and just pretend like nothing's going on and I'm safe indoors. But I thought it was important for me as a human being to be able to leave the door. I do live in a flat as well, which is not that helpful, but there's no reason why I shouldn't leave the front door. it's not in the air. It's not some obscure virus that attacks you in the dark of the night or anything. It's surfaces. So all I did is I pretended like I had paint on my hands so that I'm very, very aware of touching stuff, washing my hands, and every time I touched something, I was acutely aware that I need to wash my hands ASAP, because that's the one thing that's makes this coronavirus pandemic worse, is that the virus can survive on surfaces for quite like a couple of days, actually, depending on the weather, the temperature. It can survive on surfaces. So that means door handles, cash, I don't know, where you enter your PIN code when you pay with the card and stuff like that. So every door, everything I touch, I'm acutely aware and try and wash my hands after. The soap kills the virus. So as simple as a solution as it sounds, soap is one of the most effective ways to kill the virus. It's more effective than disinfectant, because anyway, when you use disinfectant, you should be washing your hands first anyway, and then you use disinfectant. It's like an added precaution. But hand washing is actually your best bet to try and avoid the virus. I don't listen to the news at all, actually, but if I didn't listen to the news, I know that I would have been too scared to leave the house, because once you get caught up in this narrative of negativity, of death, of drama, of anxiety, of scary, we don't know this virus yet, we don't know how to contain it, we don't have a vaccine for it. It doesn't matter that you don't have a vaccine for it, because you need to try and avoid getting it in the first place anyway, right? And by keeping to, like, as soon as everybody is really aware that give people distance, don't sneeze or cough anywhere other than your elbow, and don't touch anyone, obviously, don't make out with anyone, don't make out with strangers. But if I had this narrative of negativity, the death, and I left the front door and I carried that outside with me, I'd be pretty, like, every person I'd meet, I'd think, oh, they might have the virus and they're going to give it to me, or they're going to cough on me or whatever. And thanks to Jiddu Krishnamurti, I am acutely aware of the narrative that I carry around with me. And the first thing that I do when I leave the house is I leave the house and I take a look around, and I look at what my world actually looks like, because as soon as I look at my world, that narrative of death and drama and anxiety and you're gonna die when you get in, all that goes away, because when I focus on what is, to be honest, it's actually more peaceful than normally, because there are barely any cars and barely any people, and from the beginning, I pretended like I had the virus and everybody else has the virus. And just to make sure that if I did have it, I wouldn't I wouldn't spread it, or I wouldn't touch anybody, or make some like exception, because obviously, you know, it could be one handshake and you could actually infect another person. Speaking of infections, I'm certain that I contracted it through my roommate. She contracted it through her friend, And it happened within one day, like very quickly. And I know for a fact I didn't have any contact with my roommate, so it would have been through a surface. And we did get sick at the same time as well, so she contracted it through her friend and I got it within like almost the same day. So I'm pretty sure we would have shared a towel or something. It doesn't really matter. We were lucky because we had really mild cases. I would have preferred, I was trying pretty hard to avoid contracting the disease because I did actually think this actually might kill me. But I was lucky that, well, it obviously didn't kill me. I was lucky that it was really mild, and I was lucky that we were both lucky that we were in lockdown, nationwide lockdown, so we didn't have any contact with any other people. So even though I went outside, I didn't see anybody, or I didn't meet anybody, or I didn't touch anybody. And yeah, I'm certain that the heightened awareness stopped the spread of the disease, because if we hadn't been in lockdown, we would have infected so many people. So I'm really thankful that we were in lockdown. And even though it may seem extreme, if you just started your lockdown, it's the best, most effective way. And the longer one tries to avoid the rules or avoid the social distancing or ignore or think that, oh, I'm not scared of corona. And it's not about you being scared of corona. It's not about you getting corona. It's about spreading it to people that can't fight it, that don't have a good autoimmune system, that are too old or have an underlying heart condition. That's what it's all about. No one cares if you're not scared of corona. Everybody cares if you're taking the necessary precautions to not spread it to the poor people that can't fight it and don't have the advantage of the benefit of good health. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and it's only a few weeks. It's not that big of a deal. It may seem like a big deal at the time, but the country that I'm residing in now has already allowed us to go outside again at a social distance, but the lockdown essentially has ended. So if you're at the peak of lockdown and it seems like it'll never end, it'll end, obviously. It's not that big of a deal. Just relax, take it every day at a time, and don't let the media scare you, because it's like a game to them. Let's evoke a reaction. And they don't care about giving you information. They don't care about making you feel better. They don't want to say, hey, don't worry about it. It's only going to be another couple of weeks and then we're going to be fine. They want to give you worse news and worse news and worse news. And your reaction to them is all that they want. So they don't care what value it was or has to you, what they're saying, as long as you react, as long as you share, as long as you like and follow or whatever. And they don't care about the fear, the anxiety, the limitations that the media inadvertently sets on other human beings. Because if I scare someone and then they're too scared to go outside, I'd feel really ashamed for myself, right? I'd feel terrible, but nobody holds the media accountable for what they're doing to the public, because it's all about making money, isn't it? It's not about being human. It's not about being kind. That's up to you. It's up to you to be human, to be kind. It's up to you how you want to respond to this crisis. It's up to you how it's easy to fall into the narrative of fear and hate and anger and frustration, and that's the easy way of doing it. But the more valuable, or even if you can just make one passerby smile, letting them know that it's okay, like we're in this together, like that's enough. That's so much more valuable than wasting all this energy on all the negativity, and it doesn't help you. Love helps you, and it's up to you to embrace the love. And there's so much beauty to be seen, especially in lockdown. Any day, there's a lot of beauty. Obviously, I'm not on the front lines like doctors and nurses who are probably going through hell right now, but us acting responsibly is also showing love to them, because the less people we get infected, the more we're helping the doctors more or less on the front line. So for once, this is like a world war where normal civilians can actually put an end to the war. We can actually stop it. We can actually share love. We can actually make a difference. And as soon as we grasp it as an opportunity to spread love and make the most out of every situation, then you see that the lockdown's not that bad. Like, there's many, many gems of beauty that you wouldn't normally notice or see. So embrace the good and ignore the stupid media and the stupid negativity and the scary stories. The best way to share your love in this current COVID-19 pandemic with your fellow human beings is to show yourself love, to be aware of what you're doing and how you're behaving, and if you're spreading the virus or not. As soon as you're aware and you take care of yourself, you're implicitly are taking care of other human beings in your community. So sending you lots of love into your lockdown home or wherever. And remember, the news media, they're just stories. The story that's important is the story to your life. So focus on that and enjoy the tranquility. Thank you for listening, and talk to you soon.